I'm not the kind of person who gets scared camping. I'm 41 years old. I've been doing solo trips since my late 20s, and I've spent nights in places that would make most people uncomfortable. I carry a knife and a bear canister, and I know how to read a forest at night. I say all this because what happened in Daniel Boone in August 2022 scared me in a way I have not been scared since I was a child. I had driven down from Ohio on a Friday afternoon. 3-night trip, familiar territory. I had camped in that section of Daniel Boone 3 times before. Found a good site around 5 in the evening, got the fire going, made food, sat and read by the fire until late. Standard. Comfortable. I went to sleep around 11. Something woke me at approximately 2 in the morning. Not a sound. Not movement in the tent. I woke the way you sometimes do in the woods. Suddenly and completely, with no cause that I could identify. Just awake. I lay still for a moment, getting my bearings. The fire had burned down to coals. The forest around the campsite was doing its normal thing. Wind, insects, the occasional branch settling. Everything normal. And then I noticed that the insects had stopped. Not gradually. The insect noise that had been a constant background for 3 days just was not there anymore. In the space of a few seconds, it had gone from the full ambient of a Kentucky August night to silence. I have camped enough to know what that means. Something in the forest had caused every insect in the area to go quiet simultaneously. Something that the insects registered as a threat before I did. I lay completely still, and I listened. The fire coals gave off just enough light to see the edge of the campsite. The tree line beyond it was dark. I stared at it for a long time. Then I became aware of something at the tree line. I want to be precise because the precise detail is the disturbing one. I did not see a shape. I did not see movement. What I became aware of was a section of the tree line that was darker than it should have been. A vertical darkness in the tree line that was present in a way the surrounding darkness was not. It was the specific quality of something occupying a space. I did not move. I did not reach for my knife. I did not make a sound. I lay completely still in my sleeping bag and I watched that section of the tree line. It did not move. For what I would estimate as 15 to 20 minutes, it was simply there, present. The insect noise did not return while it was there. Then it was not there anymore. I cannot tell you when it left or how. I was watching that section of the tree line and at some point it was just the tree line again. The darkness even. Normal. The insects came back within 30 seconds of it being gone. I did not sleep again that night. When it was light enough to see, I checked the tree line. The ground at the spot was soft after recent rain. There were no clear prints, but the vegetation at that section of the tree line was disturbed in a way that was different from the vegetation on either side of it. Pressed back slightly, like something had been standing in it for a while. I broke camp and drove home that morning. I have been back to Daniel Boone since. I camp there differently now, with more attention to the tree line after dark and with a specific awareness of what it means when the insects go quiet. The insects went quiet simultaneously, a vertical darkness in the tree line that was present in a way the surrounding darkness was not. 15 to 20 minutes, then gone. The insects back within 30 seconds. Tell me where in the world you're watching from. Drop it in the comments right now. I read and reply to every single one. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Links in the channel bio. We are pushing toward 100,000 subscribers before the end of this year. If these accounts mean something to you, hit subscribe. Everyone counts. Does the insects going quiet before he was aware of anything tell you what was at that tree line was real and physical? Or does something that stands in one spot for 20 minutes without moving tell you it was watching him specifically? Drop your answer below. I booked 5 nights in the Gifford Pinchot because I needed space to think through a decision I had been putting off for 2 years. Career change. Big one. The kind of decision that is easier to make when you are away from everything that shaped the problem. I had done this before, gone somewhere remote to get clear, and it had always worked. The first 2 nights were fine. Beautiful forest, cool June weather. I slept well and I thought clearly, and by the end of day 2 I had made the decision I had been avoiding. I felt good. The 3rd night changed everything. I woke at around midnight with the specific feeling of being watched. Not a sound, not movement outside the tent, just the feeling. The same feeling you get when someone has walked into a room behind you and you know they are there before you turn around. I lay still and listened. After about a minute, I heard something at the perimeter of my camp. Not heavy movement. A sound more like careful placement of weight. The specific sound of something moving slowly and deliberately through the undergrowth around the edge of the campsite. It made one slow circuit of the camp and stopped. I did not sleep again that night. The 4th night. Same time, approximately midnight. The same feeling waking me first. Then the same sound. The careful movement around the perimeter of the camp. One circuit, then nothing. By the 5th night, I was exhausted from 2 nights of no sleep. I set up my camp differently. Fire larger than I would normally make, positioned to illuminate the perimeter better. I stayed awake. At approximately 12:15, I heard it again. This time, I stood up. I picked up my flashlight and I pointed it at the section of undergrowth the sound was coming from. The sound stopped immediately. No movement away. No crashing through the undergrowth the way an animal does when it is startled. The sound just stopped, as if whatever was making it understood that being illuminated directly was the signal to stop. I stood there holding the light on that section of undergrowth for a long time. Nothing moved, nothing made a sound. I swept the light around the full perimeter. Nothing. The thing that I cannot reconcile is the 3 nights. Not once. Not twice. 3 consecutive nights at approximately the same time, making the same deliberate circuit of the same campsite. A curious animal does not do that. A threatened animal does not do that. Consistent return at a consistent time to make a consistent circuit of a specific camp is not random or instinctive behavior. Whatever was circling my camp for 3 nights in a row had an interest in that campsite that went beyond any animal behavior I can account for. I left on the morning of day 5. I had made my decision by then. I have not been back to that section of the Gifford Pinchot. What do you think was circling that camp for 3 consecutive nights at the same time? And does the fact that it stopped immediately when he pointed the light, without fleeing, tell you it understood what the light meant? Drop it below. The 3rd account tonight is from a solo camper who did not hear anything unusual. She did not see anything at the tree line. What she found when she woke up in the morning is what makes the 3rd account the one that has stayed with me the longest. I have been camping alone for 6 years. I started after my kids grew up and left the house, and I found myself with weekends that did not have anything in them anymore. Camping filled that space in a way nothing else did. I am 54 years old, and I go out 4 or 5 times a year, and every trip has been good. Until the Cherokee trip in October last year. Nothing happened at night. I want to say that clearly, because everything that makes this account disturbing happened in the morning, and I need you to understand that the night itself was completely normal. I slept well. I heard nothing unusual. I woke up feeling rested. I unzipped the tent and stepped outside. My camp had been rearranged. Not ransacked, not destroyed. Rearranged. My camp chair had been moved from where I left it beside the fire ring to a position facing the tent. My camp table, a small folding table I use for cooking, had been repositioned about 3 feet from where I had set it up. My boots, which I had left just outside the tent door, had been placed neatly side by side approximately 10 feet from the tent, pointing away from it. Nothing was damaged. Nothing was taken. Everything that had been moved carefully and placed deliberately. I stood outside the tent for a long time just looking at it. Here's the thing that I keep coming back to. A bear going through a camp does not move things carefully. A raccoon or possum cannot move a camp chair or a folding table. A person going through a camp in the dark while someone is sleeping in a tent. I cannot think of a reason for a person to rearrange things and leave. Whatever went through my camp while I was sleeping had placed things with intention. The chair facing the tent. I have thought about that detail more than any other. Not the table, not the boots. The chair positioned to face the tent. The chair positioned so that whatever sat in it would be looking directly at where I was sleeping. I do not know if something sat in that chair while I was asleep. I do not want to know. I packed up and left without making coffee. I have not done a solo trip since that October. I'm going to go again. I've already booked a trip for next spring, but I've not been able to go yet. The chair moved to face the tent. The table repositioned. Her boots placed neatly 10 feet away, pointing outward. Nothing damaged, nothing taken. Everything moved with intention while she slept. Subscribe to Obscure Nights right now. Does the chair being positioned to face the tent tell you something sat in it? Or does everything being moved carefully and left tell you whatever was in that camp did not want her to know it had been there until morning? Drop your answer below. 3 accounts, 3 different forests, 3 different encounters with something that came to a specific campsite with a specific interest in the person sleeping in it. There is a practical response to each of these situations, and most solo campers do not know it. When insects go quiet suddenly and completely in the middle of the night, that is your earliest warning sign of a large presence nearby. Do not light your phone. Do not make noise. Lie still and listen for 30 seconds before you do anything. The insects will tell you when it is gone. When you hear deliberate movement circling your camp, do not unzip the tent immediately. The tent fabric gives you protection. You lose the moment you open it. Listen for the direction and pace of the movement. If it is moving away, you are likely dealing with a curious animal. If it stops and holds position, you are dealing with something that is aware of you and watching. The most important piece of equipment for solo camping is not a knife or a bear canister. It is a good flashlight with a long beam. Light removes the advantage of darkness from anything that is using it. The account from the Gifford Pinchot shows exactly this. The moment the light went on, the sound stopped. Whatever it was did not want to be seen. Camp with your flashlight inside the tent within reach, not in your pack. Inside the tent, within reach. These 3 camps were visited. All 3 narrators came home. To the man who now camps differently in Daniel Boone. To the woman who made her decision and left on day 5. And to the solo camper who has already booked her next trip even though she has not been able to go yet. Thank you for trusting Obscure Nights with these accounts. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Links in the channel bio. This is Obscure Nights, where the cases nobody talks about get told the way they actually happened. Good night.